Joey, your first crack, Suns' stingy defence. They're that tight down there, they squeak.
Yeah, well, they are at the moment, and we know premierships are won off the back of your defence, and I just think it's worth highlighting. A lot's been spoken of the Gold Coast midfield, but at the right time late in the season, this defence is starting to really stand up and stack up with the very best in the competition. So since round 20, for the Gold Coast, that's their last 7 games, because obviously they played 2 games at round 24. Their numbers are as good as any team. So the points against, they're not allowing the opposition to mark the ball inside the defensive 50. They're not allowing the opposition to win ground ball, which is making it really hard for teams to score. And there's one man, and he's on the screen there, that is the pillar to all this, and that is Sam Collins. He is in as good a form as any key defender in the competition, particularly over the last 8 to 9 weeks. He's now off the back of, it was one of his highest rated games of his career against Fremantle in this game. He's now the #1 rated key defender in the competition over the course of the whole season. And when you take a look at his numbers, like, he probably still goes under the radar. He's second in the competition for intercept possessions. Only Sam Taylor slightly above. Intercept marks, again, second in the competition. Only Sam Taylor slightly more. And his numbers over the last 6 or 7 weeks have increased. He's over 9 intercepts a game. And it's just going to be interesting for the Brisbane Lions, who we'll get to in a moment, if they can work around Sam Collins. When everyone talks about going to work around Harris Andrews, I think Brisbane have to go and find a way to get around Sam Collins, because at the moment, and we'll get to the Brisbane Lions, they are struggling with their efficiency inside forward 50, because when you take a look at their numbers in that same period of time since round 20, they're 10th for scoring, 11th for scores per entry, they're 16th for marks. They're only averaging 6 marks a game inside their forward 50, and they're 12th for ground ball. So for Brisbane, how can they be more efficient, and how can they try and crack through this Gold Coast stingy defence? Because if we take a look at some of the vision from the Geelong game, and we've all seen it, when it was forced into high balls and slow plays, they don't have many winners at the moment. Kai Lohmann, we know, has had a rough year with injury and been in and out of form. Charlie Cameron's really struggling. We know the Talls aren't getting it done. That's why they've brought the 2 ruckmen in for this week. And Logan Morris, a lot is going to fall on his shoulders. But if he gets the Sam Collins matchup, it's going to be tough for a young man to shoulder the load in that forward line. His last 2 weeks, 1 goal and 6 disposals, and 1 goal and 6 disposals. So they, for me, like you just touched on, Kingy, I think have to play that pure footy from ball movement at half-back, because they have to try and work out a way to get through this Gold Coast defensive 50 and Sam Collins, and it's going to be off the back of what we've seen all year. But can they get this opportunity enough in finals? Because we know it is much harder. And early in the game, they only had limited opportunities against the Cats, but when they got through early, they scored, and then it dried up, and it was a real challenge for them. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Brisbane forwards can find enough firepower to knock off this Gold Coast team.
Yeah, well, an unhealthy forward line, that was HBF, health is your best friend. So great to look at, Joey, because we're going to have to see the Smalls stand up on Saturday night in that Q clash. Kingy, let's turn our attention to the Q clash, and with another crack, Noah Anderson. Don't get beat by what you know.
Yeah, and I think this guy, we talk a lot about the 2 of them. I want to talk specifically about how they do it, how Noah Anderson does it, and the amount of times he'll put his opponent into a twist or into a move where he'll finish chest out, facing his goals out of stoppage. A twist here and Sarong. He knows where that ball's going. It's just enough to cost him half a step, and then after that it's all over. So the amount of times he does this is quite frightening. Now, this guy's a star. We understand what he is. 32 disposals, 11 score involvements last week, a dip against Port Adelaide when he was shut down. Look at that. Little strip in and then chest out, as soon as he's finished. Look at him facing front, ready to go. So you've got to have clamps on him at all times. So I'm suggesting you dedicate someone to him. Look at this. If Young's just spectating for a moment there, it's over. It's over because he's such a good hunter at ground level. If it's not Raoul, it's him. But again, always finishing 2 steps forward of the pack. Chest out, gone, all over. That's Sarong again. So there are little luxuries. If you give him, you pay a heavy price. 11 scoring involvements last week, 4 the week before when he was clamped, and 8 before that. If he finishes with 10 plus this week, they win.
Oh, they're gone.
All their damage is at stoppage. I think they've got to sacrifice a wingman, the Brisbane Lions. And I'm suggesting someone who plays like a natural halfback flanker. Now, for me, that's Darcy Wilmot. The Ashcroft boys can't defend for their lives, and I think that you get a few luxuries, not so much against Dunkley, but about the extras that come in, whether that's a Bailey or a McCluggage or even a Rayner.
Yep.
So I think you've got to dedicate a spy role, sacrifice a wing, and just have him waiting to see if it's Raoul or Anderson stepping forward. Because if those 2 light up, this is over.
There's no way they're going to allow that to happen on Saturday night.
Most good clubs say, oh, no, we're going to back our system. As soon as you hear the words, we're going to trust our system, get nervous. Because it means Rowell and Anderson are going to have a field day.
Well, they've beaten most of them, and they dominated them only a few weeks ago, the Brisbane midfield. So you'd think Chris Fagan would have to have a different plan to what he went with 6 weeks ago when they smashed him in there.